Well, because we know how high those credit card interest rates are right now. My credit card interest rate right now on my Capital One credit card is 20.3%. Like it's high. It's really high. So if there's a chance that I could transfer my balance if I carried one and there was a 0% for the next few months and I could really hammer down and work on paying that balance down, it would save me a lot of money on interest.
Yeah.
You can pay it down way faster.
Yeah, because you're not paying somebody else to use their money.
Yeah. You're listening to the Isn't That Rich podcast, and we're your hosts, Jill Franks
and Ashley McVicker. As young females in the banking industry, we love simplifying the confusing yet everyday questions you have about money.
Like, how do I get my finances in order?
Where is my money really going?
How do I invest for my future?
How do I make my money work for me?
Can I really afford to buy that new home?
These are the questions that keep us up at night. And the truth is, no one was born knowing how to handle their finances.
And chances are, walking into a bank to ask for help seems intimidating.
Whether you're a single person in your early 20s saving for your first home,
or you're an empty nester wondering what to do with that extra spending cash,
this is the podcast for you.
Welcome back to another episode of the Isn't That Rich podcast. We have our host, Ashley, back, and we missed her so much. So welcome, Ashley.
Thank you, Jill. I missed you. We haven't podcasted in quite a few weeks, so it's going to be fun.
4 weeks since we've done this.
And I'm really excited about today's topic. I think it's a good one. Talked to my mom about it earlier. She was like, that is fantastic.
Yeah. So today we're talking about balance transfers with your credit card.
I think a lot of people don't know you can do this. I didn't until we kind of had longer conversations about it. And really, balance transfers is a way to move what you owe on one or more credit cards and other loans to another credit card.
Yeah, so you see promotions all the time online or on the radio about, zero APY, do a balance transfer to get this incredible rate for 18 months. But it takes a little bit of digging to find out what that actually entails, because there's a lot more to it than just doing a transfer.
Right. And why would you do that?
People usually do it just to take advantage of that low interest rate. So if you see something out there that says zero APY for 18 months, it sounds really attractive. So that's typically why they do it. They think they can save money by having a lower interest rate.
Yeah. And sometimes it is a good thing. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, is how if you are struggling with a little bit of debt, or you are paying a high interest rate on a credit card that you currently own, we're going to talk about how you can move that to a different credit card and reap the benefits of that at a lower interest rate. Yeah. And if that is something that you need to do, actually. Maybe it might not be something you need to do right now. And we'll go through a little bit of that later.
But let's talk about how it works. So like you said, a balance transfer lets you move credit card balances from one account to another, often to a brand new credit card. And sometimes you can move different types of loans, like you mentioned. But it's a pretty simple process, and we can go through that process. And here's how it works. There's 5 easy steps to it. Step 1 is to find a balance transfer card. So not all credit cards out there allow you to transfer a balance.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you hear a promotion for zero APY for 18 months or whatever the promotion might be, you need to find out whether that allows you to have a balance transfer, because it might not be automatic. Not all credit cards allow that. So make sure you find a credit card that allows that and is running a great promotion like that.
Yeah. So 2 things you got to look for in that first step.
Yes. And then you have to apply to it and actually get approved. So the approval process is the same as any kind of credit pull, right? So you're going to get your credit card or your credit pulled, and they're going to evaluate you and see if you're worthy of another credit card.
Yeah, and it's going to be a hard pull.
A hard pull.
And we know that knocks your credit just a little bit, which is okay, but
yes,
we'll get into that a little bit later about how your credit plays into this process as well. All right, so step 2 is you're going to give the new credit card issuer the details of the account that you're transferring. So they're going to need to know how much debt you owe, what interest you're paying right now, information about yourself, all that good stuff.
Yeah, just like any other credit that you're applying for, whether it's a loan, credit card, you're going to give them that information and the information about the debt you currently have.
Yeah, because they're taking on the debt.
Exactly.
Which they're rich, so they can take on the debt, but most credit card companies are.
Oh, I love it. So pretty easy.
Yeah.
Apply for it, give them the information. And then step 3 is the new credit card issuer pays off your old credit cards. So they're going to take their money, just like a regular loan, and they're going to pay that old credit card off. So that balance will go to 0. And then they're going to take on that debt.
Yeah.
So we'll just talk about like 2 credit card issuers we know. So there's Visa and Discover, right?
Yeah.
Just for an example. So say you're transferring your balance from Discover to a Visa. Visa is going to pay off Discover. Discover's balance is going to go to 0 and they're going to take on. So now Visa credit card has that debt.
Yes, but your Discover credit card is still open.
Yes.
That line of credit is still open.
That's important to remember.
Yeah.
Because we've learned in previous episodes that we don't want to close our credit cards.
Don't close your longest line of credit. That's good for your credit health.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Step 4 is new card now has the combined balances of all the accounts that you transferred. So not only can you transfer just one balance to another credit card, but you can also transfer multiple balances if applicable.
And that's
right?
really
People do
cool.
debt consolidation onto credit cards.
And this is kind of what that is, right? You're taking, so say if you have 3 credit cards and you want to go for that 0 APY offer, you could transfer all the balances if they allow this to that one credit card. And then you can pay down your debt faster because it's not accruing interest.
Yes. This actually just happened to a girl at the bank. I saw it. I seriously saw it, you guys. 33 like loans, credit cards. I saw all of them. We, from the bank standpoint, had to go pay all of those so I guess it was a little different. We're not the credit card company, we're a personal loan.
Yeah.
But this lady had like 33 credit cards open.
And so the bank paid all of them.
Yeah, so she did debt consolidation, which isn't exactly what we're talking about today, but it kind of is. But man, it is crazy once we're going to talk about this soon, but like people seriously they take advantage of these 0% offers and they start opening more credit cards. And that's kind of how you get into
some other issues.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
yeah.
On to step 5 of this process. You're going to start making payments on that new card.
Right. So instead of paying all of those other cards, your 33 credit cards, you just pay one payment every month.
Yeah. And it's probably going to be a big payment if you have 33 credit cards open.
Yes. So,
but if you're somebody that just is doing a balance transfer from one credit card with a 19% interest rate to an 18-month 0% APY, you're going to be paying a little bit less money.
Right.
And that's the whole point of it.
Right. So even after you are approved for this new credit card, it might take the credit card issue a few weeks to complete the balance transfer. So this isn't an automatic thing that happens right away. So unless you're sure that the transfer is finished, you need to keep making payments to your old credit cards, right? So you don't want to just stop because you assume that it's taken care of. If you have a credit card payment that is due in this time that you're doing this balance transfer, you still need to make that payment. I feel like that's really important to remember.
So important. And I don't really think like this because I have auto pay on my credit cards, but a lot of people still will send in a check for their credit card, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of people do.
A lot of people do, or they don't do full payment on their credit card.
Right.
And so, yeah, absolutely. You need to be making sure that you have everything paid off because, like you just said, that can ruin your credit health.
Yeah. So make sure you're paying those minimum payments until you actually can see that.
Yeah, and think about all like the subscriptions and things we put on our credit card, Amazon, Netflix, you name it, whatever product company you subscribed to last night, I don't know.
I know.
Those things are tied to your credit cards.
Yeah, so you have to make sure that you cancel and that they're not pulling and actually adding to that balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't want to drive that 0 balance back up.
No. I mean, you can get into some serious trouble with some credit cards.
And remember, if you miss a payment, it does really affect your credit score pretty fast. It's one of the biggest things that impacts your credit score. So you definitely want to make sure you're
paying it back.
Have a pulse on that. Yeah. So then even after the transfer is complete, it doesn't hurt to check your old accounts on occasion.
Keep them open. We're keeping them open, guys.
Yeah. Check on them. Make sure there's no fraudulent activity on them. that there's no crazy pulls that we
Yeah.
already talked about from old subscriptions. So why are people going to do this balance transfer, Ashley?
Yeah,
Why
so-
would anybody do this?
So the first reason that people would want to do a balance transfer is they can save interest on the new credit card. So what a lot of credit card companies do, and Jill, you mentioned this at the beginning, but they'll offer an introductory rate, which could be 0% APY at 18 months. And we did that at Farmers State Bank, and we had a lot of people take advantage of it, actually.
Yes. And I just want to kind of forewarn you guys, this isn't what all credit card
No,
promotions are.
it may not always be 0%.
Exactly. But
That's
an
best case
example.
Yeah, that's a best case scenario that you could find if it worked out for you, because then you're not paying somebody to borrow their money, and then you're able to really just pay down what you actually owe in a faster amount of time. And that's essentially why people do the balance transfer, is to save money on interest, right?
Well, because we know how high those credit card interest rates are right now. I looked at mine, and I said this on the last episode, but my credit card interest rate right now on my Capital One credit card is 20.3%. Like it's high. It's really high. So if there's a chance that I could transfer my balance if I carried one and there was a 0% for the next few months, and I could really hammer down and work on paying that balance down, it would save me a lot of money on interest.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you can pay it down way faster.
Yeah, because you're not paying somebody else to use their money.
Yeah. The second reason you mentioned was to consolidate debt. And we mentioned this already. We talked a little bit about, but it's really complicated to keep track of all these different accounts that you have open and to make sure that there's taken care of and that your payments are made on time. It gets complicated.
I know I have like 3 cards, and I stress out about the 3 cards.
I know. Or what is due when.
Right.
And logging on to your online accounts, it gets cumbersome.
Right. And if you spend money, like if you don't use your Target credit card, and then you do use it, and then you use this credit card and this credit card, you think maybe, oh, I just spent a little money here. But then when you get your bills for all these, you're like, holy smokes, I went shopping.
Yeah. Yeah, it might seem small
Here
like
and
you're
there, but when you add it all up.
You're right, Ashley. And I remember when I go shopping, I was at Sam's Club 2 days ago, and they offered me a credit card.
Right.
And I mean, everybody everywhere is offering you a credit card.
Right.
So
it's not a bad thing that these companies are offering you a credit card, but it's a problem when you get the credit card every single place. And then all of a sudden you have all these cards and you're not paying them off. You're doing the minimum payment. And then it's time for balance transfer, I would recommend.
Yeah. So consolidating makes things a little more simplified.
It's just one big payment. It doesn't have to be a big payment. I keep saying that, but it's just one payment.
Right. So how do you know if this is right for you? Like, how do you know that this balance transfer is the right thing for you? So you might be considering doing this. And if you're trying to dig out of some high interest credit card debt, then chances are this can be a really helpful strategy in so many situations. It's not always the right move for everybody. And these are some questions that we're going to ask for you to consider when you're thinking about making a balance transfer. Here's some questions to ask yourself.
Yeah. 3 simple questions, actually. And the first one is, can you qualify? So not everybody's going to qualify if they apply for that new credit card.
Yeah.
And like we said earlier, this can actually hurt your credit if you're going out and applying for all these new credit cards. That's a hard pull on your credit, and that means your credit's going to go down, down, down.
Yeah.
And what do we know about that? It means you're more risky to
lend
to a lender.
So if you're looking to do a mortgage and you open a bunch of credit cards, chances are that that's going to hurt your credit for the time being. We've talked about that before, but this is one thing you really want to be mindful of when you're thinking about doing a balance transfer.
Yeah. So, so you typically need great credit to get approved.
Correct.
Is what we're saying. So need to make sure you have good credit before you even probably start this process.
Yeah, check out what your credit score is and make sure that it is in the range where you can be accepted for a credit card. And the disclosures on your credit card, when you're applying for it, it'll tell you what credit score you need to be accepted. So that's another good tip. Is just
Is it really?
Typically, yeah. I mean, it'll say like, we accept clients with this and this credit score. So check it out. Make sure that you're applying for something that you have a chance of actually being accepted to, rather than just blindly going into it.
See, I didn't know that. I thought the credit card companies would just be like, yeah, if you have a 200 credit score, yeah. Oh, you're exactly what we're looking for.
So it'll give you like a range of what you can typically be accepted for, but just dig into that a little bit.
Good to know.
And here's another thing. You don't want to be applying from one and then getting rejected and then applying for another one, getting rejected, because every time you do that, your credit, like you said, is going down, down, down.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the credit card analogy. A little bit here, a little bit there. Yeah. Well, if you're doing a little pull there, a little pull there, well, all of a sudden your credit's going to be in the tank.
Right.
Okay.
Before you know it, there it goes.
Yes, so here's your warning.
Yeah. So can you qualify was the question. Mm-hmm. The second question we're going to ask is, how fast can you pay off your balances? So a credit card's low introductory rate will jump after a certain period of time. So we talked about that 18 months, 0%. So after that 18 months, there's going to be a new APY.
Yeah, and it's probably like 19%.
Right. So then it's going to jump into that average. So my credit card interest rate right now is at 20.3%, like I mentioned earlier. So chances are after that amount of time, it's going to jump back up. So if you can pay that balance off before then, best case scenario, starting that higher interest with zero balance, you're going to be better off not be paying that interest payment.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't think about that.
No.
I'm in it for the 0%. This is what my credit card is. No, it's going to jump at some point. They don't play games.
No, that's for sure. And a transfer might be a good move if you can eliminate the full balance, like I said.
Yeah, but you have to make a plan to do that, right? Mm-hmm. Got to make a plan to pay it off. You're not just going to let that sit there, because once it jumps, man, you're just back in the cycle. Then you're going to have to go apply for another balance transfer.
Oh,
I don't know. I just don't think that's a good look.
So ask yourself, how fast can you pay off your balance?
Yes. And so the third question that you have to ask yourself, if this is a good move for you, is can you resist the temptation? So once the transfer is complete, you're going to have your old credit cards open, like we've said 3 times in this episode, and those are going to have a zero balance. And that might look appealing to some people to say, I'm going to go use this because it has $0. I owe $0 on it.
Yeah.
No, don't touch it. Don't touch the credit card.
Yeah, only consider that transfer if you know that you're going to be able to avoid racking up a new balance on it.
Yeah. And most people that get into this problem, they can't avoid it.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Chop the credit card up.
Or you could, this is another thing that we should mention. On your credit card app, there is usually an option where you can turn your credit card off. Mm-hmm. So you can keep your account open, but have your credit card switched over to off. And so that will prevent you from getting new charges on that credit card. So if there is something that you completely forgot that is hooked up to that credit card, making sure that you switch that to off on your mobile app will kind of take care of those payments. So nobody can pull from that card.
Or fraud too.
Yeah.
That's a great way to protect yourself from fraud.
That's so true.
So it's going to protect you from buying more things and protect you from fraud and protect you from those subscription services you probably just turn it off. Just turn the card off.
Yeah.
I had to do that the other day just for safety purposes.
So remember that although a balance transfer might sound like a no-brainer, who wants to pay that 20% when they can pay zero? They're not free.
No.
So that's another thing to be reminded of, because this isn't for free. You don't just automatically get a zero balance.
You don't just get to do this. It's a service.
Yeah. So typically the new card that's going to carry that new balance is going to charge you 2 to 5% of that balance that you're transferring.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. So say you have $10,000 on a balance. You get charged 2 to 5% of the total amount you're transferring. So that's quite a bit. So just consider if you can actually make that payment and if it's worth it. So if your balance is lower than what that fee is going to be to transfer, you might want to consider just paying it off where it sits. Yeah. So do your best to weigh those options.
Do the math. Yeah.
Do the math before you commit.
Uh-huh. And here's some other details to keep in mind about this strategy.
Yeah.
So there's often a dollar limit on how much you can transfer.
Ooh, that's good. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So there is an actual cap to how much you can transfer over. Mm-hmm. So make sure to read that.
Got to read the fine print, guys.
Okay.
Also, many credit card issuers won't let you transfer a balance from one of their cards to another one of their cards. So I'm understanding this right. Like Visa, if they had a Visa 1 card and a Visa 2 card, they're probably not. They might.
Yeah.
But sometimes they don't let you transfer from Visa 1 to Visa 2 because they're within the same company, correct?
Right. Exactly. I know because Capital One, just because I use it all the time. I am not sponsored.
She's sponsored.
No, but they have like 4 or 5 different levels of credit cards. And I know that I could not transfer the balance from one to the other. Just want to make sure that your card will allow you to, if that's the plan. Mm-hmm. So say you have a few credit cards that are already open. One thing to keep in mind when considering a transfer is you don't always have to open a new credit card. So you might have a really great credit card already that has a lower interest rate that you could transfer the balance of some of your other cards to. So that's something to consider. You don't have to necessarily go out and get a brand new credit card.
Okay, so you're saying we don't even have to go through the application process and all that. Maybe just, well, you may still have to apply for it, but you have a credit card already open.
Yeah, so say you already have a credit card open and you may not know of all the things they offer. If you really dig deep into the credit cards and read the fine print that you already have open, chances are they might already offer a balance transfer. And so you should definitely read into what your credit cards already provide that you have open before you go open a new card to balance transfer.
Yeah. And that's a good idea too if it's applicable for you because it's good for your credit health. Keep that line of credit open.
Yes.
Work it to the best of your ability.
Yeah. And think twice before closing any accounts, like we already mentioned.
Yeah. I think this is the 5th call to action to not cut up your credit cards.
So let's just really recap really quickly.
So a balance transfer lets you move one or more credit card or loan balances to another account.
Right.
Really simple.
Yes. People usually use balance transfers as a strategy to save money on interest or in order to slim down some of the bills they have to pay each month.
While many people open a new card with a low or even zero introductory interest rate, it's sometimes possible instead to simply just transfer your balance onto an existing card.
Right. And if you are considering doing a transfer, it's important to think carefully about whether you could realistically qualify for a balance transfer card and whether the strategy still makes sense after paying those transfer fees.
And last, let's remember that balance transfers can take a few weeks to complete. So it's important that you keep making payments on all of your old cards until you're sure the balance has been moved.
Right.
Sounds good to me.
I know. So a balance transfer lets you shift existing balances for one or more credit cards onto a new card, and usually with a low introductory interest rate. So you can plan to use this as a strategy if you're looking to do just that. If you're looking to pay off a lot of debt in a short amount of time, this might be the right thing for you to do. Okay, I just want to throw out some fun facts because when I was digging and doing some research for this episode, I found some kind of interesting things about people's credit and credit cards. So in the UK, your credit score gets an automatic boost when you register to vote.
Really?
Yeah. I thought
That's
that was
awesome.
Kind of neat. So if
I
you're
do
a
think that's
registered
neat.
voter, your credit gets a boost.
Yeah. I wish America did that. And then the second one you have on here is China has for years been developing a new social credit system. In addition to affecting your ability to borrow, bad marks against your credit could affect your travel and even access to education.
Yikes.
Yikes. Prayers that does not happen here.
Yeah. So although those two things aren't happening here in the U.S., we can say that the balance transfer could be a great option for you.
Yes.
And it could help you pay off those large balances and help improve your credit by paying off those balances in the long run.
Absolutely. And if you ever need help with balance transfers, you can always talk to a lender at your local bank. I know we have some great lenders that would love to sit down with you and just kind of do the math with you, hash out your options, and
talk debt consolidation.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Isn't That Rich podcast. We'll see you next week. So Jill, where do we go from here?
Be sure to check out our show notes for this episode, and also be sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our newsletter. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.